Food, wine, spirits, art, music, theater, cinema, fashion. This is the show that brings it all to you. From the kitchen to the stage, from the runway to the pantry, from the gallery to the concert hall. This is Livin Large, a weekly celebration of the good life in Houston with Steve Robison, Jody Eisenhart, and the Houston Film Critics Society's Junior Mintz. Now, here are your Livin Large hosts, Steve and Jody.
All right, joining us on the phone, a native Houstonian, I must add. Her name is Vicki A.O., and she has written a very cool book. It hits home here in Houston. It is called The Boys from Houston. Vicki, for those listening who may not be familiar with the book, why don't we just start with what is this book exactly about?
Well, it's about the good times that I had in the 60s listening to live music, and here it is all these years later, and I was thinking about all those good times and good memories, and I started Googling, looking to see if any of them were still playing, still together, or, you know, if I could find stories on what ever happened to them or anything like that. So I got more intrigued, and I thought maybe I should do some kind of a book, because if I'm wondering about these bands and these musicians, maybe other people are wondering about whatever happened to them also.
Well, and so, Vicki, in Houston, you know, in the 60s, I'm a huge live music person. Steve is too. And, you know, the blues scene, the soul scene. Houston was really kind of a mecca for an incredible music scene in the 60s. And I'm so jealous that you were here for that. Talk about some of the, you know, the famous people that you saw that emerged from that scene and just kind of what it was like.
I heard people like B.J. Thomas when he was starting out, Roy Head, 13th Floor Elevators, and it just never really occurred to me when I was 14 what was going to, you know, happen, and that some of those people would go on to become really famous. I used to go to band practices in Deer Park and listen to John Rabbit Bundrick, who went on to be the keyboardist for The Who.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Roy Head, the 13th Floor Elevators. Nowadays, Houston has a very strong hip-hop music scene, but back in the 60s, it was more of the rock and blues scene. So many bands that you mentioned, which you probably got to see at, school dances and whatnot, really went on to be a major player in the music world. Somebody
just could be literally in high school in your math class 1 minute, and then that night be on stage at the Coliseum opening for some nationally or worldwide known band. That was a phenomenon in itself. Some of these guys were so young; they were
kids.
We're talking with Vicki Welch A.O. She's a native Houstonian who just wrote this incredible book, Boys from Houston. And I just think the scene itself, I mean, how much fun did you have living life then and being a part of this?
It was really great. My dad saw us having a lot of fun and how much we wanted to do this every weekend. And he said, okay, I think I'm going to, get in on this fun too. And so he started bringing bands to Pasadena's Elks Lodge. You know, he would just ask me and my sister and our friends, who do you guys want to see? And we would say, oh, get Fever Tree, or, get the Bubble Puppy, or whoever was.
So cool. And I saw a shot online with ZZ Top's Billy Gibbons holding his copy of your book. It's such a cool thing. It's The Boys from Houston. The author is Vicki Welch A.O., native Houstonian now living in Southern California. And the reflections from those days, it's really cool. Thank you so much for being with us, Vicki.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people here in Houston get the book? Can I go to Amazon.com?
Yes,
okay.
On Amazon.
Well, if you're a music fan or if you're a native Houstonian and you're a Houston history fan, this is definitely a great read. Once again, Vicki, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
There's more of the good life ahead with Steve Robison and Jody Eisenhart on Livin Large.